Good evening. Today we are learning Parshat Tetzaveh. Parshat Tetzaveh is the second in describing the Beit HaMikdash. The first one was last week Terumah, where we described the structure of the Mishkan, the tabernacle, and how it was built and how the utensils are built, including the Aron, the Holy Ark, the Menorah, the Shulchan, and the Mizbeach, plus all the walls and the roof. And in this week's Parsha, we speak about the garments of Kohen Gadol and garments of regular Kohen. Kohen Gadol is the chief Kohen, the high priest, who wore 8 garments, and the regular Kohen, that's everyone else, all the other Kohanim, who wear 4 garments. Now, the Parsha starts, and you shall command the children of Israel, and they take for you pure olive oil pressed for light, to make the light rise up continuously. Now that we mentioned the building of Menorah in last week's Parsha, now in this week's Parsha we describe how the Menorah is used. First of all, you have to make special olive oil. This oil is called pure olive oil pressed for light. And our sages say that there are different qualities of olive oil. The top quality is pressed for light, and it's pure. So there are 2 conditions. Number 1, it has to be pure. Pure means not in spiritual purity, because everything in the Mishkan, in the Beit HaMikdash, must be pure in spiritual quality. However, here pure means that there should be no sediment, only oil, pure oil. And pressed for light means, as opposed to pressed to be used in cooking or baking, because olive oil was used in the Mishkan, number 1 for lighting the menorah, and number 2 to mix with flour, to mix with flour to make mincha offering, flour offering. And the oil that was used for flour offering is of the second quality, that is not pressed for light, but pressed for baking. And pressed for light is the first drop, or as long as it's coming out pure, the oil is not coming out with any sediment, any impurity, you can use it. As soon as the sediment starts to come out, you can no longer use it for lighting. You can use it for baking. And then in our times, we have a third kind of oil. We have the extra virgin olive oil, which is like the oil for menorah. Then we have regular olive oil, and then we have pomace oil, I think that's what it's called, which they already get by processing olives with heat or chemicals to extract the remaining oil. That's the lowest quality. Now, verse 21. More details about the menorah. In the tent of appointed meeting, meaning the place that is called holy, there is the courtyard, and then there's the structure of the Mishkan. And within the structure of the Mishkan, there is the holy and the holy of holies, Kodesh and Kodesh HaKodashim. In the Kodesh, in the holy part, we have the menorah, we have the table, the Shulchan, and we have the Mizbeach, the golden altar. So the menorah is placed in the tent of appointed meeting, which is the holy part, outside the dividing curtain, because there was a curtain that divided the holy part of the tabernacle and the most holy, the Kodesh HaKodashim. So this is supposed to be outside in the holy part. That is in front of the testimony. Testimony is the ark in which there were the tablets of 10 Commandments and the original Sefer Torah that Moshe wrote. Aharon and his sons shall arrange it, meaning prepare the candles before God from evening to morning. Kohanim, the priests, would have to come in the morning, clean the candle holders, the oil holder lamps, clean them from ash, take out the old wick, and refill it with fresh oil and put the new wick in. And then when it gets dark, or right before sunset, they will go again, could be a different Kohen, and light the menorah. Because it says Aharon and his sons, we know from this that any Kohen can light menorah. Not only Kohen Gadol, not only the high priest, but any Kohen can light. From evening to morning means the menorah has to be lit from sunset until dawn, or it sometimes would be lit even longer. It shall be an everlasting law for their generations from the children of Israel. And here the everlasting statute, the eternal law, does not mean that the menorah has to be lit constantly. It just means that it has to be lit every night. Even though during the day it's not lit, it's still considered constant. Constant doesn't mean without any pause. It just means that it is consistent. Now, in chapter 28, verse 1, and furthermore, have your brother Aharon and his sons with him come closer to you from among the children of Israel, so that he may serve me as the Kohen, as the priest. And the 4 sons of Aharon are listed: Aharon, Nadav, Va'avihu, Elazar, and Itamar, sons of Aharon. So at this point there are 5 Kohanim in the world. Only 5 Kohanim. Aharon and his 4 sons. Verse 2, and make holy garments for your brother Aharon for honor and distinction, or splendor. And how are these garments made? Verse 3 explains, you shall speak to all the wise men whose heart I have filled with the spirit of wisdom, and that they make Aharon's garments to sanctify him, that he may serve me as a priest. And these are the garments that they shall make: a breastplate, an ephod, that's the second one, and we'll describe each one, a robe, a tunic of checkered work, a turban means a hat, and a sash means a belt. Now, these are 6 garments. We said that Kohen Gadol has 8 garments. 2 garments are missing, and that is the tzitz, the head plate on which it was inscribed holy to God, as well as pants, which are not mentioned here. They will be mentioned later. Now, what are these garments? The Parsha will describe them, but let us briefly describe what they are. First of all, the breastplate, which is called Hoshen, and that is a square plate made from gold, upon which you have 12 stones, 12 precious stones, each stone corresponding to one tribe of the Jewish people. And the color of the stone is the color of the tribe, the color of their flag. and each stone is engraved with the name of the tribe. Inside this breastplate really was made as a rectangle from different kinds of wool woven, and then it had gold on it, upon which were set the stones. And this breastplate, which is rectangular, was folded in half to produce a square, a folded square. And inside the square you had name of God. And this choshen, this breastplate, had special power. A Kohen, the high priest who wore it, could ask a question that the king or the Sanhedrin needed to ask God, and the stones and the letters on the stones that were engraved on the stones would light up. And the Kohen Gadol would look at the letters. It was like a screen with the letters lighting up, and he would assemble the message from the letters that light up. And it was a short answer. Should we go to war? The answer would be go and be successful. Or should we go to war? And the answer would be no. And so on and so forth. The king or the Sanhedrin could ask Kohen Gadol these questions, important questions that are national, for national security, and then Kohen Gadol would ask the Choshen Mishpat, which was also called Urim v'Tumim. The Urim v'Tumim is the name of God that was placed inside the breastplate, and the shining stones and the letters on the stones would give the answer. Together there were 50 letters on the stones. Now, next garment is ephod. Ephod is sometimes translated as an apron, because it was a garment that had straps connecting to the choshen, to the breastplate, and under the breastplate was an apron-like garment that went around the waist of the Kohen, attached with a belt, and it was attached to the breastplate, and the breastplate was attached to the shoulder straps, which connected to the back of the ephod, of the apron. The next one was a robe, which was made from blue wool. The next one was the tunic of checkered work. It was like an undershirt, and he had a hat and a belt, and plus, as we mentioned, he had pants and the golden head plate with the name of God on it. These were the garments of Kohen Gadol. Regular Kohanim had only 4 garments, and that is, they had a hat, they had the robe, the shirt that was a long shirt, went up to knees, they had the pants and a belt. These were the 4 simple garments of regular Kohen. Now we go to verse 5. The materials that are necessary to construct these garments are listed. They shall take the gold, the blue wool, the purple wool, and the scarlet wool, and linen. And they shall make, now we start with the first garment, the ephod, the apron. They shall make the ephod of gold, golden thread, which they mixed together with blue wool, purple wool, and red wool, together with linen, twisted into a 6-ply thread, weaver's work. It shall have attached 2 connected shoulder pieces at both its corners, and it shall be entirely connected. And on top of the shoulder straps there were 2 settings of gold, onto which there were placed stones, precious stones. And on those stones there were listed the tribes of Israel. 6 tribes on one stone and 6 tribes on another stone. And each one, as we said, there were together 50 letters, so each stone had 25 letters each. And the names of the Jewish tribes were perfectly divided, so that the 6 tribes are made up of 25 letters, and the other 6 tribes are also made up of 25 letters. Verse 8 speaks about the belt with which the apron was attached. The band of its belt shall be woven together with it, gold together with blue wool, purple wool, and red wool, and linen twisted into a 6-ply thread. Then take 2 shoham stones and engrave upon them the names of the sons of Israel. These are the stones that go on the shoulder straps. Verse 10, 6 of their names on one stone, and the names of the remaining 6 tribes on the second stone according to their birth. Now, verse 12, and you shall put the 2 stones on the 2 shoulder straps of the ephod as stones of remembrance for the sons of Israel. Aaron shall bear their names before God on his 2 shoulders as remembrance. This way, wherever the high priest would go, into the holy or into the holy of holies, he would carry the names of the Jewish tribes with him, both on his shoulders and on his heart. And through that he would achieve atonement for the Jewish people. Now we speak about the settings for those stones and the chains. Verse 13, also make settings of gold and 2 chains of pure gold, which are used to attach the shoulder straps to the breastplate that hold it in place. And you shall place the chains on the settings. Now in verse 15 we speak about the second garment, and that is the breastplate of judgment. And make a breastplate of judgment of woven material, like the work of the ephod. It's made in a similar fashion, of different kinds of materials twisted into one thread, and then it is woven. Now, verse 16, it shall be square, doubled. As I explained, it's made as a rectangle and then folded over. Its length is called zeret, which is this much, and its height is also this much. Verse 17 describes the stones that are attached. There are 12 stones, 1 for each tribe, and each one is different color and different variety of precious stone, and each one has the name of the particular tribe. Now the 12 names of the stones usually are not translated, because there are different opinions what these stones are. They are mentioned in Hebrew, and we're not sure what they are in English. There are various opinions. So one of them is diamond, one is ruby, one is emerald, and topaz, and various different kinds of stones. But there are disagreements, and therefore we will just name them in Hebrew. The first one is Odem, Pitda, and Bareket. Verse 18. In the second row you have Nofech, Sapir, and Yahalom. In the third row, Leshem, Shevo, and Achlama. And in the fourth row, Tarshish, Shoham, and Yashfe. They shall be enclosed in gold in their settings. Now, in the commentaries, they explain each stone. What is the color of it? What is the special quality of it? And what can we learn from its name? The character trait of a tribe is described by the stone. Verse 22, and you shall make on the breastplate and chains at the edges of pure gold. Not only the breastplate was attached to the ephod with gold chain to its shoulder straps, but it was also attached at the bottom to attach it to the ephod so that it shouldn't move up and down and it shouldn't move sideways. It was secure on the heart of Kohen Gadol. Let's go to verse 29. Thus shall Aharon bear the names of the sons of Israel with the breastplate of judgment over his heart when he goes into the sanctuary as a remembrance before God at all times. So this is the second remembrance of the Jewish people. One is with his shoulder stones upon which are engraved the names of the tribes, and the second remembrance are the 12 stones on the breastplate upon which also are engraved the names of 12 tribes. Verse 30 explains about the Urim and Tumim. You shall put the Urim and Tumim into the breastplate of judgment. And the Urim and Tumim is the name of Hashem that they put in it, and that's what gives it the special power to give answer, to give prophetic answer, so that they will be over Aharon's heart when he comes before God. Let Aharon bear the judgment of the children of Israel over his heart before God at all times. Whenever the Torah mentions Aharon specifically, it means that this can only be done by Kohen Gadol, by the high priest. When it mentions Aharon's sons, we know that this mitzvah can be done by regular Kohanim as well. So here, for example, it mentions only Aharon. So from here we learn that these garments can be worn only by the high priest. Now, verse 31, we describe the me'il, and make the robe of the ephod all of blue wool, which is called techelet. It was pure blue wool robe. Verse 32, and the opening of its top shall be turned inward. It should have a hem. The opening shall have a woven border all around it. It shall be like the opening of a coat of mail, like the metal protective armor that does not have any stitch, so that it shall not be torn. It was reinforced, and from here we learn that there is a prohibition to tear or to rip any priestly garments. The Kohanim have to take care of them, not allow them to be torn. Now we describe the hem of this robe in verse 33, and you shall make on its bottom hems pomegranates of blue wool purple wool and scarlet wool all around the hem, and golden bells between the pomegranates all around. So at the very bottom of the robe, he made little wool pomegranates of colorful wool and little golden bells. Why? Verse 35, Aharon shall wear it when he performs the service. Its sound shall be heard when he goes into the sanctuary before God, and when he goes out, so that he will not die. When Kohen Gadol goes into the Holy of Holies, into the Kodesh HaKodashim on Yom Kippur, he announces his coming by the sound of these bells. It's done just as etiquette, as the proper behavior, that before you come into a room, you have to announce your coming. We have a rule in halakha that before you enter a closed room, you must knock before opening the door, even if it is your own house. That's what the halakha says, and we learn it from this garment, that before you barge in, you have to first knock, for two reasons. Number one, not to scare people who are inside, and number two, not to embarrass them, because maybe they are doing something they don't want you to see, or they're not dressed properly, and therefore you have to first knock and then enter. Again, even if it is your own house, before coming in, you have to announce. Now, you don't necessarily have to knock, but you have to make some kind of noise so that people on the other side realize that someone is about to come. Now, in verse 36, we mention the garment that we didn't list above, and also make a tzitz. Tzitz is a head plate of pure gold, and engrave upon it holy to God, or some say the sanctuary belongs to God. Kodesh Lashem, it is holy for God. Now, two interpretations: either Kohen Gadol is dedicated to God, and his service is dedicated to God alone, Yud Kei Vav Kei, no one else, or the meaning is the whole sanctuary, the entire Mishkan, the entire Bet HaMikdash is dedicated to God alone. There is no mundane talk in the sanctuary, there is no business. In fact, anyone who enters the temple, anyone who enters Bet HaMikdash, they're not allowed to bring a wallet or a money belt, because the sanctuary is not a place of business. And from here we learn that when we are in a synagogue, we're not allowed to speak about business, we're not allowed to speak about anything mundane, and we're not allowed to do business transactions. For example, you should not bring your checkbook and start balancing your checkbook in the synagogue. You should not do your math or English homework in the synagogue. If you need to do your mundane activity, you have to go to a side room so that you're not in the main prayer hall. Now, verse 38 describes what the tzitz is used for. It shall be on Aharon's forehead, and thus Aharon shall remove the crookedness of the holy things that the children of Israel dedicate to the sanctuary. Which means, when the Jewish people bring offerings through the Kohanim, if there are any mistakes made, for example, if sometimes an offering becomes impure, or the Kohen becomes impure, and thereby disqualifies the offering, or the offering, the blood is spilled, or other blemishes, the this mistake will be rectified by Kohen wearing the tzitz.